Hey guys, this is part 2 of the off-grid power video that I filmed with Mr. WB. We have already spoken about batteries and a general overview of how 12 volt and 240 volts work in a motorhome. If you haven't seen that already, I'll put a link to it somewhere so you can get back to it. But today we're going to be talking about generators and inverters and solar panels, how you choose them, how you use them, how you get power whilst you're off grid. Before we get started, if you want more tips and tricks for touring the UK and Europe by motorhome or camper, then by all means hit subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified when our next video is out. You can also join our email list, the link is below, get on that and I'll tell you when a new video is out, and also share tips and guides and planners and all sorts of other fun things that are going on. So I hope you will find that useful. Right, let's dive on back in to the chat. So there are two key systems that people have asked me questions about. One is solar panels. Oh no, three things. So solar panels, inverters and gas. So I'm very quickly just going to run into the gas thing. We have found a 6 kilogram bottle in summer, so we're not using it for heating, will run things like the fridge. Make sure your fridge is a 12 volt fridge that works on gas, because it's so much easier that way. But if we use it for the fridge, the cooking, we don't use gas for anything else, do we?
Right. It's mainly
on hot water, I suppose. The heating hot water.
Yeah, it's mainly the fridge and the
cooking.
And the cooking side of things.
So we found a 6 kilogram bottle easily will last us 10 days, probably more like 2 weeks. That's just one, without even worrying about it. In the winter, that same 6 kilogram bottle will last us 4 days tops with heating.
Yeah, we're on 11 kilograms a week in winter.
Yeah, so that shows you kind of how much gas you would need. And there's a big difference. So then you have to start looking into, if you're in the UK it's fine, you can use exchangeable bottles. If you're in Europe, you need to start looking at either getting the appropriate pigtails so that you can swap over to bottles as you go, or get refillable bottles, which are so much easier.
Yes, because you're not carrying tons of bottles.
Oh yeah. So yes, if you're going to Europe a lot, especially in winter, highly recommend getting refillable gas bottles. But that's how the gas works. Then we're looking at solar panels and we're looking at inverters. So let's go on solar panels. The first question that I get asked all the time is, what size solar panel should people get?
100 to 120 watts seems to be the industry standard.
Okay.
We've got a 120 watt solar panel. No, it's a 100 watt solar panel.
That literally just means that, what, an hour and full sunlight?
Nothing like it. So in full sunlight on a really good day, you might get 100 watts out of it.
We should see what it's doing now.
The reality is you'll probably get 80%. Solar energy is so inefficient.
Okay.
But it's free. Yeah. And it's there, so you may as well, no matter how inefficient it is, you may as well use it.
And what's the size of our leisure battery?
Our leisure battery is 120 amps.
So, let's say we get 80 watts an hour. He's pulling a face like, oh, I'm going to have to do maths. I'm sorry, I'm throwing this on you.
Too early in the morning.
I'm sorry. But how do you estimate how long that's going to take?
So, if you're getting, and I need to do the equation, because it's watts divided by volts gives you the amps. That's the equation. So, if you've got 100 watts, it's a 12 volt system. So, it could technically give you 8 amps per hour. If you've got amazing sunlight, the reality is I think we get 5 to 6 amps per hour.
Hold on. So you've taken 100 watts
divided by the voltage,
by 12,
because it's 12 volt solar panel.
Just checking. So you've done 100 watts divided by 12, and that gave you 8.
8.3.
8.3 what? 8.3 watts.
8.3 amps per hour.
8.3 amps, and our battery was 100 amps. 120. So you're looking at 14 hours?
No, because you then get voltage loss across cables, you get inefficiencies.
But roughly.
So take, the easy way is whatever figure you see on that calculator, take 50% of it, and you'll always be happy.
So you had
but
8.
That's 50% in bright sunlight. As the...
so give me the actual figure. What?
8.3, I'm going to say we're at 5 amps.
Right, okay. So then if the battery is half full at 50%... which would be, it needs another 60 amps. Did you say it was 120?
Yes.
Yeah, so it would need 60 amps. So then we are looking at 12 hours.
Yes, but you're not going to get 12 solid hours of sunlight.
God.
So it's going to
just generally, you're looking at a couple of days.
To
top up. Oh my God, without using it.
without using anything.
Okay.
That's leaving it on its own.
That got a bit long-winded, but I hope we got there. I think. All right. So this is when then people say they want a second solar panel.
Yes.
And then obviously if you have 2 solar panels, you'll charge it twice as fast. That's the general idea. But because you've also then got to do the weigh-off against weight and against... In fact, is there any other weigh-off against weight?
Solar panels aren't that heavy. Solar panels are quite good.
So why don't we have 2?
Space on the roof. There's not enough space on the roof.
What?
We've got skylights and things and...
So the reason that we aren't putting a second solar panel on the roof is because there's not enough space. But we reckon there is if we wanted one, but we don't really feel we need one at the moment. Okay, so then the last thing is probably 2 things actually. One is we carry a generator, which we have used on occasion. Now I've always said I don't want to be that motorhome that pulls up into the middle of this beautiful spot and then runs its genset. Having said that, we have done it. And we've normally done it for me, which is quite frustrating, but my laptop is just the most power-hungry thing in the entire universe. So we have run the genset for 15-20 minutes, and we've gone around and knocked on all the motorhomes or campervans doors, like, really sorry, can we just run it for 20 minutes in the middle of the day? And everyone's always been lovely, so it's fine. But yeah, it has been very useful on occasion. We did it in Norway as well, didn't we? Because we stayed off grid for like 2 weeks.
We did it in the Dolomites.
That's what I was thinking, was the Dolomites.
The Dolomites were a few days up there.
But what we hadn't done, and my fault, we tend to charge everything whilst we're driving. So laptops, drone batteries, phones, iPads, everything. So when we arrive somewhere, we want to stay off grid for a couple of days, it all is charged and ready to go.
Cameras,
my camera battery, yeah, we charge that a lot. So we do have a little genset. We'll do a review on that at some point because it's been brilliant.
Great genset.
But again, that is literally a backup. You don't need one, and you do have to take into account the weight of it when you put it on your van.
And the weight
so
of
then
the fuel.
The last thing is inverters.
Okay.
Very important, because I didn't know this. Do not connect your inverter to your engine battery. Don't do that.
Very bad.
No, don't connect anything to your engine battery apart from the engine and the bit that makes it all start. See? Basic terms. But you can connect an inverter to your leisure battery, and we have ours constantly connected, don't we?
We've connected it directly to the leisure battery.
Yeah.
That way there's no risk of fire. Inverters take a lot of power.
Yeah.
They will choose 75 amps per hour on a 500 watt inverter.
So again, basic terms, the inverter takes the power from the battery and through wizard magic that I don't understand makes it possible to plug in a 240 volt appliance.
It inverts.
Wizard magic that I don't understand. But you have to be really careful, again, because your battery is only this finite amount of water. We're going to run with this analogy. You can't just charge everything all at once and expect it not to trash your battery. So you have to, that's why we do it whilst we're driving, because it's being recharged slowly. Now, we couldn't charge it constantly whilst we're driving for like 4 hours, because nothing would ever get recharged, would it? So him, always says that we have to give it at least 20 minutes of driving time so that the engine battery and the leisure battery have a bit of recharge going on, and then I'm allowed to plug things in and get things charging.
Yeah,
so,
it allows the systems to replenish some kind of thing before we take this mass kind of bulk on it. I mean, we have a 300 watt inverter in the van. I think not a 500 watt. We did take in the Bailey a 500 watt inverter.
oh yeah, we've done. I forgot about that. We've done a video of how we temporarily fitted an inverter, so that if you don't know how to connect one to a battery, that's how we did it. So I'll link to that somewhere.
But I've wired it directly to the battery with the cables that came with it. I've not extended them, so I've kept it close to the battery. Our leisure battery's under the driver's seat. The inverter's immediately behind the driver's seat.
I'll do a quick thing.
And essentially, we have to manage that, because we could drain the leisure battery without any kind of battery management on there if we're not careful. So we only, the rule is very simple. The inverter's only allowed on whilst the engine's running, and we allow at least 15-20 minutes of initial driving to replenish.
So we never, ever, ever use our inverter whilst we're not driving, do we?
No.
No.
No. So you've got to remember, when you switch an inverter on, it uses some even if you've not got anything plugged into it all. Two things. One, it's noisy. It's got a fan going all the time. Two, it will use things because the fans are going and the electronics inside.
Sort of drain the battery.
And again, inverters are very inefficient. They're like solar panels.
Yes, but it's really been useful. So why have we got a 300? What's the difference between a 300 watt inverter and a 500 watt inverter?
So,
I mean, obviously one's bigger, but why does that matter?
So for example, your laptop chews through 185 watts to recharge itself. If you're using it and you're recharging, it's 185 watts. If it's closed down at the back, it's about 100 watts.
Let's just pick with 100 watts then. Let's say I'm not using it. My laptop takes 100 watts.
100 watts.
Explain the
So
analogy.
if we're charging
numbers.
your laptop off mains,
Yeah.
we're charging...
Off the inverter.
Off the inverter,
Yeah.
We're charging my laptop
Yeah.
off the inverter.
Yeah.
So that's 200 watts straight away.
So the figure is how much it can take.
How much it can give.
So if we've got my laptop plugged in and I'm not using it, your laptop plugged in, you're not using it, and the drone batteries, say, I don't know how much the drone batteries are, but let's just say that the three of those together are 290, and then I decide I want to use the laptop to find somewhere to stay for the night.
It's not going to happen.
And I open it, what will happen? Will it blow up? Will it just stop working? Will it stop charging?
Depending on the inverter, depending on the protection it's got inside. Some of them will blow a fuse. Some of them will just get incredibly hot and potentially catch fire.
Yeah.
Some of them will just stop. Some will just say, no, that's it, I'm not doing it. And
so
nothing will charge.
On each appliance, does it tell you?
Yes.
So the wattage on the appliance is what it takes when it's being charged?
Yes. And I always allow 10% tolerance in everything.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you. So why would we got a 300 watt inverter, not a 500 watt inverter?
Because a 500 watt inverter uses more battery power, and we don't need.
Does it charge quicker?
No.
Okay.
No, it can charge more.
Yes, so you can charge more things for the same amount of time.
But you can't.
Sorry if the van is shaking. The dog's trying to find the ball. Okay, that makes sense. So it's a toss up. Right.
But for me, the other thing as well is the 500 watt inverter. That's a lot of power coming from your battery. I mean, sometimes I have 1500 watt inverters and run all sorts.
And is there a point where you buy an inverter?
We have a 2000 watt inverter in the boat.
Yeah, but is there a point when you buy an inverter that's too big for your battery?
Well, you can do, yeah.
So how do you know
You've just got to do the calculation. It's all about that calculation. If you've got a 100 amp battery and you've got a 2 kilowatt inverter, you're going to empty that battery in an hour.
No, so you can buy a 2 kilowatt inverter. It's just how quickly it empties it.
Yes.
So is there ever going to be a point where you buy an inverter and it turns on, it blows up the battery straight away, or will it just run down in 10 minutes?
There's a whole different question on that one, because it all depends on the type of inverter, the protection that's built into it, the type of battery, how good it is. You buy a cheap battery, a cheap inverter, yes, there is potential for it to cause a problem. We had an incident many years ago. We could only afford a very, very cheap inverter that had no protection in there. We had a reasonable battery on a boat, and a certain somebody in our family plugged in an electric kettle, thinking that it was mains, and trashed everything.
Yes,
and just by switching on the kettle, it blew the inverter, melted it, managed to short out the battery.
That wasn't good, was it?
That was not good.
No. So, I've shut the door, so you probably hear him scratching on that. So, I think we've covered certainly the basics on how we get power off grid. I hope that's been useful for you. Can you think of anything that revolves around the power side of things that we've not mentioned about off grid?
One thing to remember, excuse me, even though your fridge is on gas, because we run our fridge on gas when we're stationary, but we run it on battery when we're driving.
When we're driving, yes.
To save the gas. But something to remember.
And not all fridges are automatic, by the way. Our last fan was, and it was magical. We didn't have to think about it. This fan is not, is it?
No, this is.
This
is automatic. Our last one wasn't.
Oh, all right.
And
not all fridges are automatic, by the way. Our last fan wasn't, and this one is, and it's magical.
When they're on gas, they still use some power.
Okay, so they'll still be
draining.
draining.
It still needs some power. It's like.
And how do you find out how much that is, or do you just not care? Do you just be as frugal with power as you possibly can and just keep an eye on your battery monitor.
You can do a couple of things. You can make lists and you can go through each item and check the power ratings. And in the early days I did that, and I was really kind of over the top and oh my word, and I discovered one thing.
You over the top, darling, never.
Well, I discovered one thing. There was one little variation that came into the equation. Well, back then it was two variations that came into the equation.
He's about to say something mean. I don't know what he's about to say.
I never banked on.
But he's about to say
all my
something
calculations,
mean.
all my equations went to pot when you bring into the account a wife and a daughter. Because no matter how much I think, well, if we run the lights for 4 hours of an evening, you know. So I threw that away. That went out the window within the first 2 months. And what we do now is I watch and I listen.
And you just watch the battery monitor.
I use and I get into the habit of, okay, so if we're away, and our habits do change, depending on where we're going and what we're doing.
And also what time of year it is.
Very much. Winter, we chew through so much more power.
Yeah.
You know, winter, we can get through, we know we can get through 24 hours with everything going, no problem at all. But we're getting nervous after 24 hours. And you've got to remember, if your battery goes, you've got no water pump. You can't get water, you can't get the fundamental points. Now, with ours, we can use the engine battery as a switchover if we want.
That's the other thing. So on our last van, sorry to interrupt you, on our last van we had 2 leisure batteries because we had an electric drop-down bed.
Oh, it was awful.
Which was
Underpowered.
most underpowered, yes, but also the most power-hungry thing. It drained so much of the battery that they'd actually put in a second battery to help compensate for it. So if you've got an electric bed or an electric, some vans have these electric things to go over the garage. They make the bed go up and down. If you're going to use that a lot, obviously you're going to be draining a lot of power.
Yes, anything motorised.
Electric sunroofs.
Yeah.
They use a fair amount of power.
Electric awnings.
Yeah.
They all chew through a lot of power.
Which is why when we changed the van, we looked for something that had really, really simple systems, or as simple as you can, because it's so much nicer having a lot more manual systems, isn't it?
Yeah, things like the manual drop-down bed, the wide-out awning. Yes, it's a pain, and
it's not
the
that
problem
much
is
of a pain.
no, but some people can't do that. For health points or whatever.
No, that's fine. So if you can't, if you have the electrics, you've got to look into perhaps putting in a second battery, or how you're going to compensate for that extra power requirement. Cool. Happy?
I'm always happy.
You are. Thank you for your help, because
okay.
I don't really understand, as you could probably tell. But I hope that was useful. If there was anything in there that you feel we didn't cover, or you've got more questions on, please, by all means, drop a comment, email me, ask me. If you found this video useful, we would absolutely love it if you gave us a thumbs up and hit subscribe. And if you want to know when the next video is out, hit the little bell to be notified. If you want to be in our membership group, by all means, click the link below and it will tell you more about it. And if you want to get on our mailing list and find out lots more tips for motorhome travel in the UK and Europe, then you can sign up below as well. Until then, we hope you are safe and well, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Take care.
We're talking about